Join me today for the third part of our series where we examine BattleTech versus Warhammer 40K. And today we're going to be talking about some alternative ways to interact with the BattleTech franchise. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobby. This is part 3, very likely of 3, of our series where we talk about some of the differences between Warhammer 40K and BattleTech. Excuse me. And in my opinion, why you should choose BattleTech between those two. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about some other ways that you can experience BattleTech. Just in case, for whatever reason, you have come from the Warhammer 40K tabletop or elsewhere and decided that you don't necessarily want to play the tabletop version of BattleTech, or if for some reason you want a cheaper alternative than what Catalyst has to offer, or just don't want to deal with Catalyst. I don't know why that would be, and I'm not advocating for that outlook, but in the interest of completion and intellectual honesty, here we go. So, first of all, if you don't want to engage with the tabletop game, but if you like the lore, there are novels, and I've done several reviews for those. Try to link to those into the playlist for those into the description if I don't put it up here, or both. You never know. You've got tons of novels stretching back to the 80s. There's a lot of them. There are also numerous source books. And then there's the animated series, which at some point I'm going to rewatch and try to do a review of, because it is here on YouTube, complete and for free. So you have those options. Now, if you're at a convention, or I assume these people have some kind of home base, and whenever I edit this, I'll try to see if there's any kind of information I can provide on this, but there are BattleTech pods where you can play a video game version of the game where you're in a pod that's supposed to simulate the cockpit of a battle mech. And these were part of a system that's called Virtual World back in the mid to late 90s that was, I believe, owned by FASA. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I think it's FASA. And the company who originally created BattleTech. And they used to be like in shopping malls, and that's where I first encountered one at the Circle Center Mall in Indianapolis. But once they went out of business, people bought up the pods, and now they bring them like to Gen Con and other conventions like that. And they've updated the software a little bit. It's at least to MechWarrior 4 level graphics. So, which isn't to say they're great. They're not, but it's pretty cheap, and it's fun. It's a fun experience. I don't know if they're going to be at Gen Con this year, here in 2024 or not. I've heard no, but I've also heard that people are looking into it, so we'll see. So those are some of the ways there. Then, of course, there are the video games themselves, like the MechWarrior series, which there are 5 of those. I've never actually seen the first one, but I have played 2, 3, 4. Yeah, played 2, 3, and 4. I don't have the 5th one yet. And then there's a more recent, I believe by Piranha Games, just a straight BattleTech game. And there's also Mech Commander 1 and 2. There's Mech Assault, which was on the Xbox 1 and 2, as well as a handheld port on the Nintendo DS, I believe. And I shouldn't call it a port. It's not quite a port. It's a different game. Then there's also some for the various game systems, like the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, and maybe up to the PlayStation. And I don't know if those are ports of the MechWarrior games or not. Jim recently acquired one of them. We'll be checking it out at some point, hopefully here on the channel. So there's a number of video game options, and then there's another that I don't have any personal experience with. I looked it up a little bit to try to get an idea of what it was here for this video, and that's called Mega Mech, and it's MEGAMEK, and it appears to be a way to it appears to be a way for you and some number of friends or the AI to play against each other using the up-to-date rules that Catalyst has in their books and up-to-date technical readouts for battle mechs and everything else. And I believe it's free from what I'm seeing. So it's definitely an option. Like I said, I don't have any experience with actually using it, so I couldn't tell you, the quality level, but I hear people talk about it a lot, and I do plan on looking into it some more and having a video on that, because I'm going to need to use it between now and Gen Con to get better at my game, because I signed up for a big event. So those are the plethora of non-tabletop means to engage with the franchise. Then there are other ways to get the rules and everything. Now, I believe you can download the beginner rules from Catalyst. And if that's the case, if you're just hell-bent on not dealing with Catalyst, that means they're elsewhere as well. But I believe you can get the beginner rules from them for free. Now, that won't have advanced weapons or anything like that. It'll be very bare bones, but you can figure it out from there. So you have those. You have older miniatures from like the 3rd edition box set had plastic miniatures, which will also be the unseen miniatures. I have one of those. I'll do a video on those at some point. Then you'll also have there's another one that Catalyst released years ago that had, off the top of my head, I believe it's 26 battle mechs in it. And I'll post a picture so you know what you guys know what it looks like if you see it out in the wild. It probably has a kind of hefty price tag because of the number of mechs in it. Now, it also has maps and everything else that you're going to need. So that one in particular, those are the older plastic models that are based off older Ironwind metal models, so they don't look quite as good. Still totally functional for the game. In fact, you don't need miniatures at all, as I've mentioned in the other videos. So if you just want the basic rules, some hex paper, or if you do the conversion for all the stats to inches, and then you can use coins or whatever. I mean, you can play this game without paying anything for it, except maybe the hex paper. So you have those options. You can always buy older versions of the game because the rules are virtually unchanged since the 80s. And so that means there's 40 years of material out there that you can scoop up, and if you're lucky, you can get it on the cheap. Or there's a couple places like Ares Miniatures and Fortress Miniatures that, and I'll put links to those two down in the description, that sell individual battle mechs, that sell the contents of the box set other than the mechs. So there you're getting it, and again, if you're, for whatever reason, don't want to deal with Catalyst, you're getting it from someone else, and you're going to get it very cheap because they open up a lot of the box sets to get the mechs to resell, so they've got all the paper that, So you have those options. You can buy the Catalyst box sets on the secondary market. That's not going to go to them at all. And again, I keep mentioning that because I've seen other videos that are like, well, if you want to avoid dealing with Catalyst, so I'm just telling you that's an option. Again, I'm not advocating for that or that mentality, but I mean, you might have some beef with them I don't know about. Maybe you're really pissed off they fired Blaine Leopardo. Maybe you've been burned by Games Workshop and you're just not willing to get in bed with another company yet. And for the record, while Catalyst has a handful of issues that I outlined in the other video, they're a pretty decent company overall. So, I don't have any real major issues with them. But, yeah, so you got those options. Then as far as miniatures go, you don't have to use the plastic miniatures. Ironwind Metal sells miniatures of basically everything. So, those are an option. Now, those are going to be a lot more expensive than the plastic miniatures if you buy them directly from Ironwind, because there you're looking at probably nearly $20 per miniature versus like $30 for 4 plastic miniatures or $60 for the box set with 8 at retail, but you're probably going to find them cheaper than retail if you look around. So you've got those options, and if you're curious what's in the box sets, I've done videos doing the unboxings for those. I'll try to link those down in the description to you. You've got standees. Those are cardboard cutouts that have the front painted on one side and the back painted on the other side of a battle mech. And because you only need to know the forward and you only really need to know the rear arc. Everything else just follows from that. So those are an option. There's standees from like the first and second edition of the game. There's Catalyst has produced standees, which you can probably buy dirt cheap on the secondary market for people that just don't want them. I've kept all mine just in case I ever run some gigantic game. But yeah, so you've got all these options, and a lot of them, especially once you go to the secondary market, you're going to find a lot of this stuff on the cheap. Now, there's a handful of things that are just ludicrously expensive because they're out of print and have been for years, and Catalyst hasn't gotten around to reprinting them yet. But they've been slowly working through the back catalog, bring them all up to PDF, not PDF, POD, print on demand. And it's taken a while because they had to reformat in some cases, and their focus is on new product, and so the fact that we've been doing it at all is great. Because yeah, I'm only missing one of the house books. It's for House Merrick, and it goes for stupid amounts of money, and I really don't want to pay what people are asking. I've got them for the other 4 houses in the periphery, but anyway, so that's most of the other ways you can get involved, or like some of the older stuff. Because the miniatures are viable, like the older Alpartha miniatures are still perfectly fine. They're a little bit, the scale's a little wonky compared to current ones, and even then Ironwind Metal's internal consistency is a little sketchy. It's not really until the plastic models by Catalyst where they initiated a program that, I don't remember which mech they picked for the base mech, but they took that size and they told the computer, okay, this thing is this many tons, this height, and it uses math to scale the other mechs to that one. So like if another mech is like, say the base mech they use is 30 tons, I don't know, I'm just saying it, but say the next one is 60 tons, and if there's not a tremendous height difference, it's going to make the other mech much thicker to represent the difference in tonnage, because there's more mass to it that should physically look larger. And so now there's a handful of exceptions where they've, like certain details they wanted to stand out, so that's a little bit out of scale. But by and large, the newer mechs are very consistent internally. And there's a little bit of give and take with the metal, because metal molding works different than plastic molding, and this is a whole science and art behind it that I don't completely understand. So some of the Ironwind Metals versions of the new mechs, even though they're based on the same files, will be a little bit different in size. But again, it's usually nothing really glaring. So anyway, that's part 3 of 3 at the moment. I don't know that there'll be a part 4, maybe, but I don't know what else I would cover. So maybe if I can get Chad in here to talk about the lore, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, hopefully you guys got something out of these videos. Let me know down in the comments, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I got a lot of comments in the first video, not so much in the second one, but, diminishing returns and all that. So anyway, just wanted to round out the series here. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But always remember, no guts, no galaxy.